Hi friends, Michelle here, and I am back. I just had to make a video because I just got back from doing the biggest book haul of any kind that I've ever done on this channel to date. And what brought this on is that the month of June has not been a great reading month for me. I've been feeling really kind of slumpy. I started off the month with 2 books I DNF'd. I didn't even finish them. I got about more than 100 pages in and could not continue. I think life is too short to just read books that you're not really enjoying. So I DNF'd 2. The next book I read after that was a 1-star read for me. So things did not get appreciably better. And then after my 1-star, I went into a book that was a little bit better, but not really. It was a 2-star read. And then I just recently finished a book that was very difficult reading because of the subject matter as well as the way the book itself was formatted. It was very disjointed and kind of hard to read, although I did like it. So it was, the last book was a 3-star read for me. So things were starting to get better, but I just looked around and, I have so many on my shelf and a couple stacks that I want to get to, but I don't know if you've ever had this, but have you ever just been bored of your own books? Like, I don't know if that saying familiarity breeds contempt is appropriate here, but I just feel like just because I look at the books all the time and I'm always around them, and then I go to pick them up and start reading, and yeah, they just don't grab me. Like, I picked up about 4 or 5 off of my TBR stack and they just weren't doing it for me. So you know what? I thought, I'm gonna change things up. I'm gonna snap myself out of this potential reading slump I'm heading into. It's almost the end of June and I wanna end the month on a really high note because, it's summer. I should be having fun reading, right? So yeah. So what I did was I went to a library that I don't normally go to, a much larger library than my usual little neighborhood one. And the only kind of goals I had going in were that I wanted to take as many books as I could home with me, as many as I could carry. I didn't bring a shopping bag or anything. And I just walked into the general fiction section and started browsing the shelves to see what I could come up with. I usually get authors I'm familiar with. That's one thing I look for. I wanted to get at least one book that was translated from another language to change things up a bit. I thought I'd try a short story collection because that kind of short fiction kind of sometimes snaps me out of a slump. And then also, I always like to pick up a little book that is way out there, like way left of center, quirky, very bizarre, and I found a really strange one, so I was really happy about that. So let's get into what I picked up at the library. I got 11 books in total, and the first ones I picked up were just general fiction, literary fiction type books, but this author is someone who I have read from before. I'm talking about Jennifer Egan. I read 2 of her previous books, A Visit from the Goon Squad, which won the Pulitzer Prize, I believe, as well as The Candy House. Really loved both of those. So I thought I'd pick up Look at Me by her. Never heard of this book before. It was a National Book Award finalist, apparently, and I'll just read a little bit of the synopsis here. A fashion model named Charlotte Swenson emerges from a car accident in her Illinois hometown with her face badly shattered, so badly shattered that it takes 80 titanium screws to reassemble it. She returns to New York, still beautiful but oddly unrecognizable, a virtual stranger in the world she once effortlessly occupied. So yeah, Jennifer Egan, writes fantastic, realistic characters going through it. Like, they all have really kind of complicated lives and relationships, and she puts them in the most harrowing circumstances that a person can go through in life. And I I love to read about that. Something about it, that voyeuristic quality that I get from reading about other people's horrible problems. And there's always some kind of entanglement. And then she kind of resolves the story towards the end, which I absolutely love in a book. So yeah, it's a story about our infatuation with image, and there's other characters here. There's a deceptively plain teenage girl embarking on a dangerous secret life. We have an alcoholic private eye, an enigmatic stranger who changes names and accents as he prepares an apocalyptic blow against American society. So, I mean, this one got me from the synopsis. It sounds like a really good read. Can't wait. Even though it's got a kind of plain cover, maybe this is a case where it'll be a fantastic read. Next up, this is a book that another author that I've read from before and absolutely loved. I read her historical fiction, Life After Life, and that was a 5-star read for me. The author is Cate Atkinson. She's English, and I believe she's been around forever. She's a very famous, well-loved writer of kind of historical stories. She writes a lot of wartime books, or has written. And this is a recent short fiction collection of hers called Normal Rules Don't Apply. So right there, that title appealed to me. And I'll just read you, this sounds really intriguing to me. So it says, nothing is quite as it seems. In this collection of 11 dazzling stories, we meet a queen who makes a bargain she cannot keep, a secretary who watches over the life she has just left, a man who bets on a horse that may or may not have spoken to him. So what I love about Cate Atkinson, she dabbles in the surreal and the spiritual side of life, and kind of ghosts and the afterlife. Those are recurring themes in her writing, I find. So I can't wait to read this. And it's a short story collection, so sometimes I find something short and gripping is just the perfect thing to get me out of a slump. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Next up, I saw a book that is by an author I have not read from before, but this book sounds right up my alley. It is called Death Valley by Melissa Broder. She had another book called Milk, I believe, or something like that. I can't remember, but I have heard and seen of this book before. This is one of those kind of quirky first-person narratives along the lines, I think, of an Ottessa Moshfegh book like Eileen. Kind of, we're following this woman, and she arrives at a Best Western seeking respite from an emptiness that plagues her. So it sounds like a really internalized kind of self-discovery journey kind of a book. She has fled to the California high desert to escape a cloud of sorrow for both her father in the ICU and a husband whose illness is worsening. What the motel provides, however, is not peace, but a path, thanks to a receptionist who recommends a nearby hike. Out on the sun-scorched trail, the narrator encounters a towering cactus whose size and shape mean it could not exist in California. Yet the cactus is there, with a gash through its side that beckons like a familiar door. So she enters it. What awaits her within this mystical succulent sets her on a journey at once desolate and rich, hilarious and poignant. I'm in the mood for some hilarity right now, I can tell you. So a woman who disappears into a ginormous cactus and goes on an adventure. I mean, if this doesn't break me out of a slump, I don't know what will. So really looking forward to this one as well. Next up, this is a book that I've seen out there. I think it's an Irish book. Yeah, it's set in Ireland, I believe. This is Colin Barrett and Wild Houses. In this book, we are following a couple feuding families, I believe. I'll just read you a little bit. It is, as Ballina prepares for its biggest weekend of the year, the simmering feud between small-time drug dealer Killian English and County Mayo's enforcers Gabe and Sketch Ferdia spills over into violence and an ugly ultimatum. When the reclusive Deb answers his door on Friday night, he finds Doll, Killian's bruised teenage brother, in the clutches of Gabe and Sketch. Jostled by his nefarious cousins and goaded by his dead mother's dog, Deb is unwillingly drawn into the Verdia's revenge fantasy. So it's a bunch of teenage kids who are immersed in this underworld of like violence and, I don't know, fighting. It sounds like a revenge plot, which I'm all over. I love that. So yeah, I just read the first paragraph and it appealed to me. So I think this will be an entertaining one. Hopefully. Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. Next up, this I've seen around in my bookstores. I didn't buy it. I picked it up. It's one of those books where, you know, you go looking in the store and you pick it up and you read it and you think, I might love this or I might absolutely hate this, depending on the day. So the book I'm talking about is the Paris novel by Ruth Reichl. Now, I have had the good fortune of actually traveling to Paris back in the 80s with my family, and I still remember that city vividly. So any book that's set in Paris automatically kind of appeals to me. This is the story of Stella. When her estranged mother dies, she's left with an unusual inheritance. A one-way plane ticket and a note reading, "Go to Paris." Stella is hardly cut out for adventure. A traumatic childhood has kept her confined to the strict routines of her comfort zone. But when her boss encourages her to take time off, Stella resigns herself to honoring her mother's last wish. Alone in a foreign city, Stella falls into old habits, living cautiously and frugally. Then she stumbles across a vintage store where she tries on a fabulous Dior dress. The shopkeeper insists that this dress was meant for Stella, and for the first time in her life, Stella does something impulsive. She buys the dress and embarks on an adventure. So this sounds like a fantastic story of a woman alone traveling by herself, which I love. I'm a woman alone who has traveled by myself, and I highly encourage it for any adventure seekers. And yeah, I can't wait to see what Stella gets up to. You know, going through the loss of a parent and then getting this mysterious note telling her to go to Paris and live more bravely and daringly than she ever has in the past. So I can't wait to see what she gets up to. This sounds really good to me. Next up, I just picked this book. Not gonna lie, I pick up books from their cover all the time, and this one reached out to me. I love the very simplistic design of this cover, the colors. It just says summer to me and romance. And this book is called Holiday Country by Inci Atrek, or Inci Atrek. I believe this book is set in Sri Lanka. No, sorry. This book is set in Turkey. So I love an international story. It makes me feel like I'm actually traveling to these places. And yeah, this book we're following 19-year-old Ada, who adores spending every summer in a Turkish seaside town with her mother and grandmother at the family villa. The glittering waters, endless olive groves, and her spirited friends make it easy to leave behind her life in California. But no matter how much Ada feels she belongs to the country where her mother grew up, deep down, her connection to the culture feels as fleeting as the seasons. Then a mysterious man shows up and hits it off with her mother, but then Ada strikes up a relationship with him as well. So we have a lush setting in a beach paradise in Turkey. We've got a mysterious stranger who shows up, and we've got a mother and daughter who both get romantically involved with this guy. So this sounds like a really entertaining kind of summer romance, but with an exotic twist. And yeah, I can't wait to read this one. This might be like the perfect antidote to my reading slump as well. I like a lighthearted romance every now and then, and this one seems like it might have a bit more emotional heft to it though. Like it's the dynamics with the mother and daughter, and the friction that will arise when they're both involved with the same man. Like, I can't even imagine that. So yeah, should be interesting. Next up, I was looking for thrillers. I thought I at least have to get a few thrillers under my belt, or horror or something of that nature, some kind of psychological twisty kind of a book. And then I saw a book by the famed movie director David Cronenberg. This one here is called Consumed. I don't know if any of you have read this, but this deals with a cannibalistic couple who live in Paris. Again, another Paris book. I don't know why, I just happened to pick up a few of those. But in the book-filled, artfully messy Paris apartment of the famous French intellectuals Celestine and Aristide, an astonishing discovery is made. The grisly butchered remains of Celestine are found partially eaten, and her husband, sought by police for questioning, has disappeared. Naomi Serberg, a young journalist, embarks upon a quest to uncover the truth of Celestine's death and Aristide's role in it, traveling to Tokyo to interview the suspected cannibal, while her boyfriend, Nathan, a medical journalist, seduces the cancer patient of a controversial Hungarian doctor, contracts a sexually transmitted disease, and traces the disease's famous discoverer to Forest Hill Village in Toronto, where he encounters the most interesting journalistic subject of all. So, like, we've got multiple layers of gruesome and horrific and weird happening here all at once. Multiple different countries, multiple different characters doing all kind of weird, twisted things. So yeah, there is a crime that happened, obviously. There's cannibalism, there's an investigation, the mystery of who done it. There is this medical journalist who seduces a patient of a controversial doctor. Like, that sounds intriguing to me. So yeah, I can't imagine how those stories will all weave together, but this one sounds weird. Consumed by David Cronenberg. Next up, my friend Isabel over at Isabel Reads had featured a book on her channel called You Are Fatally Invited. That book sounds really intriguing to me, so I did look for it in the library. I don't know if I was looking in the wrong place, but I didn't find it. However, what I did find was a different thriller along the same vein called You're Invited by Amanda Jayatissa. So in this one, it's a very, sounds similar plot-wise, but I'll just read you the synopsis here before I mess it up. When Amaya is invited to Kavi's over-the-top wedding in Sri Lanka, she is surprised and a little hurt to hear from her former best friend after so many years of silence. But when Amaya learns that the groom is her very own ex-boyfriend, she is consumed by a single thought. She must stop the wedding from happening no matter the cost. But as the week of the wedding celebrations begins and rumors about Amaya's past begin to swirl, she can't help but feel like she also has a target on her back. So this is a story of obsession. She goes to this wedding in Sri Lanka, like a beautiful location. I don't know if you can see that photo, but I love a book set in an island, a tropical island like that. She's going to break up the wedding of her long lost best friend and her ex-boyfriend. And she also is accused of his murder. So it's a murder mystery, obsession, revenge plot kind of thing, all twisted into one. And yeah, this sounded really gripping. Just could be just the right kind of book to get me out of my slump. I love this type of a domestic thriller sometimes. So we'll see. Next up, we have another fantastic image on the cover of this book. This one is called The Clinic by Cate Quinn. Just look at that. It's like a seaside mansion on a cliff, I mean, what's not to love about that? In this story, Meg works for a casino in LA, catching cheaters and popping a few too many pain pills to cope, following a far different path than her sister Haley, a famous actress. But suddenly, reports surface of Haley dying at the remote rehab facility where she was forced to go to get her addictions under control. There are whispers of suicide, but Meg doesn't believe it. She decides that the best way to find out what happened to her sister is to check herself in to the rehab facility where this mystery took place. Battling her own addictions and figuring out the truth will be much more difficult than she imagined, far away from friends, family, and anyone who could help her. I mean, that sounds fantastic. That's the creepiest rehab facility I've ever seen, for starters, and just the idea that the protagonist will be a completely unreliable protagonist as she herself is battling addiction issues. So yeah, it just sounds like a fantastic kind of a whodunit or missing person mystery. And yeah, this one sounds great too. Next up, I have my one and only book that is translated from another language, and I'm a big fan of Japanese translated books. Something about Japanese fiction just really speaks to me. I find them they have a style all their own. Like, yeah, I think this is a translation, or I could be wrong about that. Maybe it's not a translation after all, but it is a Japanese book by a Japanese author. And yeah, this one we are following Mizuki, who is a Japanese housewife. It's called Fault Lines by Emily Itami. This Japanese housewife is kind of going through the motions in her life. She's pretty bored with her marriage and her life. She's almost driven to suicide. She is having really dark thoughts. And then one day she meets this man who pulls her out of her doldrums, and she begins to have this extramarital affair that begins as friends, but gradually turns into something more. And supposedly there's a lot of drama that ensues with her newfound friend with this strange man, as well as her marriage and her life. It sounds really interesting. I don't think I've done it justice, but I just thought I'd explain it instead of reading the synopsis word for word. And yeah, I just love a Japanese book. So it's set in Tokyo, which I also love. And yeah, beautiful cover art. I just love the city skies, the city buildings in there with the flowers. I don't know. This one sounded great. Last but not least, I was so happy to find this book. The cover jumped out at me on the shelf. I was deliberately looking for something small, and like I said before, a small, quirky, gripping book often does the trick for me if I'm in a slump or just not getting in the reading mood. So this one sounds just bizarre enough for me to love. And this book is called Open Throat by Henry Hoke. As you can see, there is a mountain lion on the cover. And this is a story set in Los Angeles, in the Hollywood Hills. We are following a queer and dangerously hungry mountain lion who lives in the drought-devastated land under the Hollywood sign. Lonely and fascinated by humanity's foibles, the lions spends their days protecting a nearby homeless encampment, observing hikers complain about their trauma, and in quiet moments grappling with the complexities of their gender identity, memories of a vicious father, and the indignities of sentience. When a man-made fire engulfs the encampment, the lion is forced from the hills down into the city the hikers call LA. As the lion confronts a carousel of temptations and threats, they take us on a tour that spans the cruel inequalities of Los Angeles and the toll of climate grief. But even when salvation finally comes within reach, they are forced to face down the ultimate question. Do they want to eat a person or become one? I mean, does that not sound fantastic? Like, yeah. It just sounds like a heartwarming, quirky, interesting kind of meditation on humans as well as the sentience of animals. And, you know, I don't know, I've never actually seen a mountain lion, but I've certainly felt their presence when I've been hiking around in the Rocky Mountains in my province here. And like, they're so elusive that I'm sure I'm going to enjoy reading about the perspective of a mountain lion, because you can sense that they're in there somewhere. You know they're in there in the bush somewhere, and they're probably watching you. So yeah, just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're not there. You can sense their presence. And yeah, this sounds like a fantastic little book. It's very, very sparse type on each page. Like, there's not much for, you know, not much to read on each page. And this book is only about 156 pages long. So I may very well start off with this one. And yeah, who knows? But it sounds like the perfect book to get me out of my slump as well. So there you have it, folks. My enormous library haul. When I was carrying these books out, I couldn't hardly, like, my arms were getting sore as I was walking around the library. And like I said, I didn't have a shopping bag or anything with me, so I, was carrying them around with me. Anyhow, there you have it. My perfect solution to get me out of a reading slump is to do an enormous haul from the library. $0 spent, zero buyer's remorse afterwards. I mean, I love to shop for books, but it's so nice to just be able to break out of your comfort zone and read things you might not normally read, explore new authors, and check out as many books as you want. I mean, at my library, you can take up to 40 items. So yeah, today it was 11. Maybe next time I'll do a bigger haul. So if you've made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and happy reading. I hope your reading month is going better than mine, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.